Hey, this is George. Have you ever heard of Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Number two, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.fm on the iOS and Android systems.
Need psychotherapy online or in person? Check out tinyurl.com/THT psychotherapy. The George Brassey podcast is made possible with funding provided from Brassey Global Strategies, LLC, a leading political consulting, public policy, government affairs, and research firm. Are you interested in running for elected office? Need advice? Call or email George, 708-769-5015. Brassey Global Strategies 1@gmail.com.
Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business, Chicago Heights, Illinois, despite some members of the council being absent, freezing weather and meeting remotely due to COVID restrictions. On Tuesday night, the Chicago Heights City Council approved a number of projects to continue moving forward the city's beautification projects. Architectural services. With Alderman Vincent Zaranti sitting in as acting mayor for Mayor David Gonzalez, the council approved an agreement for architectural services with TRIA Architecture. Under the $23,000 agreement, TRIA will provide a space needs analysis of the municipal garage and water department facilities. The company will analyze existing facilities and determine whether an upgrade or a totally new facility is needed, based on current and future needs. TRIA has provided architectural services for other local municipalities such as Country Club Hills, designing its amphitheater, storage and fleet maintenance facilities, and upgrading its recreational center. Morton Arboretum Grant. The council voted to accept an award of $15,000 from the Morton Arboretum through its Urban and Community Forestry Grant. The grant will pay for a tree inventory of the city. Funding for the grant is provided by the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Urban and Community Forestry Program. It offers urban and community forestry grants to municipalities, which are required to pass a tree preservation/protection ordinance before the end of the grant period. Engineering services. The council also approved proposals totaling $842,000 for engineering services for various city infrastructure projects. Chief of Staff Karen Zarant said the projects include sewer and resurfacing work around the city. The council approved an agreement with Grand Capital, North America, LLC, to induce the sale and development of the city-owned real estate at 560 and 570 West Lincoln Highway. Jack Hines, city economic development consultant, said the parcels are the sites of the former Lorenzetti's restaurant and car lot next to it. Grand Rapid Capital has done a number of developments in the city. In other business, Chief of Staff Karen Zarant gave the council an update on January's Illinois Department of Public Health vaccination clinic, hosted by the city. She said about 250 people registered online. The city plans to hold another vaccination clinic, in conjunction with IDPH, in February. Chicago Heights Fire Chief Jeffrey Springer announced the promotion of Captain Tony Mascalino to Assistant Fire Chief. The council approved a redevelopment agreement to induce the sale of the city-owned surplus real estate at 1902 Euclid Avenue, through the city's Abandoned Property Acquisition Program. And the city's city towing services agreement was renewed. Freeze doesn't stop Chicago Heights City Council from taking care of business.
Before we get to the interview, I just want to tell you about our newest sponsor. Union Signs and Printing. Union Signs and Printing is a union sign shop located near Chicago, Illinois, that specializes in the production of corrugated plastic lawn signs used in applications ranging from political and election usages to unions, schools, and businesses. They also produce a vast array of other products, including American-made, union-printed t-shirts, banners, bio cards, literature, door hangers, business cards, and trifold. Get a hold of Union Signs and Printing at 815-740-1688 or find them on the internet at unionsignsandprinting.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about their services on the George Brassey podcast.
Oh,
I'm so glad to welcome Trustee Debbie Williams to my podcast. Debbie, welcome to the show.
good evening, George. Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to discussing current events with you.
Absolutely. So tell the audience, if they didn't know who Trustee Debbie Williams is, a little bit about your personal history in the town of Sauk Village.
Sure. Thank you. I've been a resident for over 30 years. I've been married for 42 years. I've raised 2 kids in Sauk Village, both of which are grown now. I've been a community advocate from day one. I was the village clerk for 2 terms from 2009 to 2017. I was defeated in my run for a 3rd term in 2017. However, I have now been elected trustee in 2019, which is where I'm currently serving. I was also appointed and then elected to the McConaughey Public Library Board in Sauk Village for 13 years. So basically, I've attended village board meetings for over the past 30 years. So serving as the village clerk for 8 years and in my term as trustee, I'm looking forward to the next step.
Talk a little bit about the differences in the positions that you've held trustee and clerk, and how they will prepare you to potentially be the mayor.
As the clerk for 8 years, what I was doing basically was facilitating information, projects, and the like between the trustees and the mayor and the vendors and outside sources. I found the job very challenging, but also very rewarding. It prepared me for this position that I'm in right now because I went through many transitions. I worked with 2 different mayors. I worked with several different trustees and village administrators and village managers, different department heads. And I basically got a really good idea of what worked and what didn't work. And I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, believe me when I tell you, from the inside. After sitting outside watching board meetings for so many years, being on the inside and seeing how things work really prepared me for this position.
If you are elected mayor, what are some things you want to change? What are some things you want to focus on in your first term?
Well, first of all, just let me say that Sauk Village is my home. Just like you want what's best for your home and the people in it, I want what's best for Sauk Village and the residents. What I've seen through the years is a steady decline in community involvement, lack of stability and accountability in the finance department, and year after year of political shenanigans that continue to divide our community. My goal is to restore the core values that have been ignored, especially through the past few years. We have not had an active Parks and Recreation Committee for the past 3 years, and we've also lost our sports association because of the politics years ago, and now we've let our ball fields go entirely. Our youth has been lost in the shuffle. They should be a priority, not a casualty. That's part of my biggest concern is the youth in Sauk Village. The board has approved plans that are we're aggressively addressing inoperable fire hydrants and dead trees that have been ignored for way too long. But my goal is to continue that endeavor because it really, really should have been addressed a long time ago. I intend to continue to address those issues as well as the other issues that impact our community, such as vacant abandoned homes and foreclosed properties. We need to identify the owners of those properties and find ways to encourage home ownership in Sauk Village through education and programming that would open doors for people that never thought they could be a homeowner.
Sauk Village is your home. How big is Sauk Village? How many residents are in the town?
We have approximately 10,000 residents. Our census number is much lower now than it was 10 years ago. So we're looking at right around 10,000 residents, and it probably, the last time I looked, like 3,400 rooftops.
Okay. One thing I find interesting about Sauk Village is it seems like the political culture is very brutal and very personal. Can you speak a little bit about if that perception is accurate? Just from some of the things I see on social media, it seems like Sauk Village is a bit of a blood sport when it comes to politics.
Well, basically, you're absolutely right, George. And that's exactly why I've decided to take it to another level. To be perfectly honest with you, it breaks my heart. In my opinion, Sauk Village is broken. And that's the term that I'm using for a reason. We're broken. We've been unable to heal from one election to another. It's politics 24/7, 365 days a year. That's exactly the way it is out here. And the various social media pages and blogs are very misleading, and they're one sided, and they're hateful. They're hateful and they're discouraging. They're discouraging the residents from even wanting to be a part of what's going on in Sauk Village. And I sincerely hope that this time the residents can be encouraged to get to know the candidates and review their resume just like they would if they were in the position of hiring someone in an important position in a Fortune 500 company, because basically that's what they're doing for their municipal leaders. I hope they step back from the Facebook pages and actually get to know the people that are running, because we have some good people running for these positions, but we're being overshadowed by the negativity that's on Facebook and basically the slander that I've had to face in the last 4 elections.
We'll talk about some of the slander you've had to face individually in the last couple of elections.
Well, let's say that after 8 years of being the Sauk Village clerk and working very hard in my position, I really, really thought, maybe foolishly, that I had worked so hard in my position that enough people would want me to be back in that position. But there was a huge slander campaign on me at that particular time where the worst possible pictures were put out there, stories that just were inaccurate. I was accused of stealing money. The clerk doesn't even have access to finances. But, when you put it on social media and you put it in print and you put it in people's mailboxes and you make robocalls and you do all of these things that reach people a lot more than I can by knocking on a door, I don't even have access to money. It's just ridiculous that the way I look at it, if I'm a person that wants to vote and find a candidate that I want to work for me, why do I want to vote for somebody whose their main platform is condemning their opponents? I would want to look for somebody who's telling me more about what they've done and encourage me because of what they've done, instead of telling me why I shouldn't vote for the other side. So for the most part, George, I run a positive campaign. I run a campaign based on what I've done in my time in Sauk Village and what I want to continue to do in Sauk Village. Like I said, this is my home. I moved here in the 80s and I've seen so much love and so much community coming together. And then through the years, I've just seen it broken down bit by bit, mostly because of politics. And I can't let politics run my life. I can't let politics and the evil of politics deter me, because that's what they want to do. They're trying to break me. But what they don't understand is I'm the type of person that if something's broken, my objective is to fix it. And that's what my goal is. And that's what I plan on doing as mayor.
You're currently a trustee. Are you elected village wide?
Yes.
Okay. So if you become mayor, you will have been elected to 3 different village wide positions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell us about the current role as trustee. Now you're a bit of I've watched some of the videos, and you're kind of the leader of the majority. Is that a fair?
Actually, my fellow trustees are very offended by that, and as I am, because I want to make it very clear on this podcast, as I make very clear every opportunity I get. I am one trustee, one mind, one vote. I do not lead anybody. All of the trustees are adults. They have been in the village for a long time. They have very, very exact ways of thinking. They don't need me to tell them how to think. They don't need to tell them. That's ridiculous. What they're trying to do on those social media pages is they're trying to I can't even, I'm so against what they're doing. I can't even put words to describe it. But yes, George, that's how we're portrayed on social media. I'm a leader. I'm a leader of the pack. I'm a leader of the pack against the mayor and everything the mayor wants to do. And that's not true, because I have told the mayor over and over again, what can we do as a board to help the community? What can we do as a board to help the community? I can't help it if he doesn't want to work with us. We want to work with him, but it's been a bloodbath. Yes, it has been a bloodbath, and I don't like it. I would rather work together for the common good than to work apart from each other. We're not accomplishing anything in this way.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that.
Thank you.
So, tell me about the ways you've tried to work with the mayor and you've been kind of pushed to the side.
Well, we've had 2 budgets that were very difficult to accomplish. To be honest with you, it took us 7 months the first year of this administration, me and my fellow trustees that were elected in 2019. It took 7 months to get a budget together because the mayor refused to acknowledge some of the things that we were trying to point out to him and some of the downfall in the way the finances were being represented. And it took entirely too long. So when the time came where the budget finally passed, he totally disregarded everything that we put in the budget. I mean, I don't understand how a mayor can go against policy and procedure and ordinances, but he did. He doesn't regard anything we do as fact. He continues to operate on his own volition. So we passed a budget. He wasn't happy with the budget. We went into another year. We passed a budget. They disregarded what we did as far as salaries and positions, and it's very disheartening, because when the trustees are in there to be the fiscal officers of the village, and it is our responsibility to watch the finances. And when we bring something to the table in a respectful manner, and we actually go through the process in the way we're supposed to go through the process, and then the mayor chooses to ignore the process, that's very disheartening. It makes the residents believe that the trustees are inadequate. More and more, I'm hearing from the residents that, what are you trustees doing? I mean, we're told constantly, you have the majority of the board and you're not getting anything done. Well, it's really funny that our people that come to us and say, we're not getting anything done, and the mayor is telling his people he can't get anything done because of the trustees. When you look at the way that those two things come to total opposites, wouldn't it make a lot more sense if the trustees and the mayor and the staff and the residents would come together and work together? But it's really hard to do that when their main focus is social media and constantly throwing up things that are not factual and actually meant to be decisive and derisive. And I just don't understand why anybody thinks that that's the way to lead a community. You lead a community to greatness. You don't lead a community to brokenness. And we're broken.
What's some things you feel like you could do on day one as mayor to heal some of these wounds in Sauk Village?
We need to encourage our residents to participate in more community-centered events. We've lost that. We've lost the community feeling. We lost our Human Relations Committee, our Parks and Recreation Committee, Beautification Committee. We've lost, we need to address our fair housing regulations, and we need to form a resident committee to take on that endeavor. What we really need to do is to make the people a part of the community. And they don't feel as if they're a part of the community. They feel like they're not listened to. They're not respected. We need to bring the core values back to Sauk Village. We need to encourage unity, not division, love, not hate. Lift each other up instead of tearing each other apart. This is what we've had to experience the past 10 years. And I'm looking forward to taking the next step in the upcoming election, because I'm excited and motivated to work with the residents and the staff and other members of other communities that are like-minded. Because, George, I firmly believe when we all do well, we all do well. And that means within my community and around my community. Because what I see in the Southland, I see a lot of people that want exactly what I want for my community. We want to bring people together. We want unity. I don't want the division any longer. I don't want the hate any longer. I really need to encourage people to bring people back into the community and make this more of the Sauk Village that I brought my kids into in the 80s, that I raised my family in, where we all worked together and played together, and we encouraged each other, and neighbors cut each other's grass, and made each other dinner when you're sick. And I mean, it might sound foolish to some people because this is 2000s, we don't do things like that. Yes, we do, and we can, and we should. This is a small town, 10,000 people. We're not a big city. Big city politics have ruined the look and feel of the Sauk Village I moved into in the 80s. I want to bring that back, and I can only do that with the help of the residents. And like I said, bring in some outside entities. So there's many people that I've come to know through my time as being clerk, my time as being a trustee, and just getting out into different areas of government with other people. And I've met so many people that want to do the right thing during this pandemic, George. As you probably know, I've been working on the free food box distributions, the COVID testing, the blood drives, because public events is my committee. I can't hold public events during COVID. What I found is the things I was able to do during COVID introduced me even to more people that I didn't know. And what I see in everybody is they just want to get back out. They want to be with people. They want to sit there in the backyard and have a barbecue. They want to go to a restaurant. They want that touchy feeling. They want that to get together with people. We lost that even before the pandemic. We were losing that, and people didn't feel like we could communicate and work and play together. I'm going to bring that back any way I can. I want the residents to know this is their election. It's not my election. It's their election to win. If you put me in this position as mayor, what I want them to know is open door policy. And I want to make you a part of what's happening in the village hall. I don't want to exclude you from what's happening. I want to include you. I want you to come and tell me, what do you see that we should do as a community to bring this community back? We used to have a lot of people that wanted to volunteer and wanted to create a program or wanted to be behind the scenes. I don't see that anymore. We wanted to do mentoring programs with the kids. We wanted to do grandparents that work with the children. There's people that can knit and sew, that can have a sewing class. We don't see that anymore. I want to bring all that back.
You mentioned the pandemic and how that has changed. How do you feel like that's going to change your ground game, your campaign strategy?
I think it's going to make it extremely difficult. I personally respect social distancing. I personally respect wearing masks. I respect people who don't want people knocking on their door asking, can I talk to you for a minute? It's going to be a lot of phone calls, a lot of mailings. It's going to put a total demographic. I've walked Sauk Village more than I care to tell you in the last campaigns that I've run. I mean, I don't have a problem. I never had a problem with knocking on someone's door and saying, can we talk? But I don't see that really being the open door policy in the street the way it was before. I think I have to respect the residents enough have to know that I respect them enough that I'm not going to come to your door, okay, unless we are really much clearer out of the situation that we are right now. Right now, I don't see it, okay? I don't see going out having big rallies. I'm very cautious. I don't, at this point, I'm planning in my mind how I want to run this campaign. But I know one thing, I'm going to need, and I mean need, residents that support me to work with me and help me. Because like I said, this isn't my campaign, it's our campaign. And I feel that if we all work together, then we can get the word out and we can let people know. And really just ask people, what do you want from Sauk Village? I think residents haven't been asked that question enough. They're being told. They're being told this is what you're going to do. And they're going to be told that, no, the community center's not open. It hasn't been open in 3 years. It's, they're being told that, no, we don't have sports in Sauk Village. Or they're being told, no, there's nothing for the seniors to do other than the little thing. We do have a senior committee. I want to reiterate that before somebody calls me out on social media. We do have a senior committee, but some seniors don't feel comfortable in working with that senior committee. We need a senior committee that's open and receptive to all seniors. So we need to focus on, we need people, I really want to put people in place of creating their own committee working with and including people into different ways of life. There's a lot of things that I've learned just by participating in other communities in the events that they have, and I say, oh, I'd like to bring that to Sauk Village. And I have. When I was the clerk, I brought many things to Sauk Village only because I saw what other people do. And I like that. You take what they do and you do it just as well or do it better. So really, the whole thing is running a campaign right now, very, very difficult. But I will rely heavily on social media in a good way, print and telephone calls.
Trustee Williams, what are 2 books you would recommend for the audience that have been influential for you?
Well, first of all, I'm a lover of books. Believe me, I've read many books, and many have influenced me. But when I saw that question, the first one that I thought was, "Don't sweat the small stuff," and it's all small stuff. I mean, as many times as you can read a book like this that tells you how to think and put your mindset in where it needs to be, because actually, a lot of what happens in day-to-day life is small stuff when you consider the larger picture. Okay, so that would be one that I would say. Just the title itself, "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff," and it's all small stuff. There are so many things that people take that's a small stuff and they try to make it bigger and blow it out of proportion because they don't want people to accept it, recognize it, or want to be a part of it. I personally take on anything that I feel that I can overcome, no matter how small, no matter how large. And I don't let my mindset be torn down because of somebody telling me this is too big, this is too bad, this can't be done. That's not the way I think. So that would be one. And secondly, the Bible. I have to tell you, in the past 10 years that I've worked in government, that I've relied heavily on the Bible. I wish I had even more time to read the Bible. I don't take as much time as I should, but I do know that there isn't a single thing that happens in my life that I can't pick up the Bible and go to and get a verse, a psalm, a chapter that could put me in the mindset that I know that everything's going to be okay.
Trustee Williams, where can the people find you on the internet?
Currently, I have a website under construction. It's not completed yet, but my Facebook page is Debbie Williams, simply Debbie Williams.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on the podcast.
I am so glad you invited me, George, and I want to wish you and your family a happy new year.
Great. Take care.
Help George stay on the Chicago Heights City Council. Go and donate today at tinyurl.com/AldermanGeorge 2023. Need more George? Like his pages on Facebook. Friends of George Brassey PAC, Fifth Ward Business Alliance, Chicago Heights Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and the George Brassey Podcast.